Now that it's Halloween season, horror movie Netflix marathons are a must. It will be more horrifying while sitting on the couch, holding popcorn with shivering fingers and off lights with someone sitting on your shoulder. This is what horror movies rush your dopamine and skyrocket your enjoyment. But are you curious to know the facts of your favorite classic movies? Now let's explore the horror facts that you never knew. Let's start with the number 15. 15. Sleeping in a Blood. Based on the Stephen King novel of the same name, Carrie is a horror classic. Carrie, Sissy Spacek, a girl who's abused at both home and school, unleashes latent and deadly telekinetic abilities after getting pushed to the edge. There's a famous scene where Carrie is doused in pig blood at her high school prom as a cruel prank. As the story goes, Spacek refused to wash off the fake blood, corn syrup and food dye, and slept in her character's blood-soaked prom dress for 3 nights, all for the sake of continuity. Now that's dedication. 14. The Ring, 2002. The Ring was the Exorcist of the early 2000s. It was the horror movie that everyone was afraid of and talking about. It features the evil spirit of a little girl named Samara, who climbs out of television sets, soaking wet, and promptly murders anyone that watches her videotape after 7 days. It's a good thing streaming services don't follow these same guidelines for rentals. Samara is a terrifying character between her ghastly appearance and her stiff, unnatural movements. And there's a reason for that. Devay Chase, the actress who played Samara, walked backwards while filming her scenes, which was then reversed in post-production. This approach is what gave Samara's movements that unusual, creepy look. 13. Poltergust, 1982. The scene in Poltergust in which Mom Diane Freeling, JoBeth Williams, aka Stone Cold Malef, runs outside during a storm, wearing nothing but an oversized t-shirt, and slips and falls into the family's future swimming hole/present mud pit is horrible for a number of reasons. 1. Night swimming is scary too. The downpour has made the mud slippery, therefore it's impossible to escape. And 3. Skeletons. You son of a You moved the cemetery, but you left the bodies, didn't you? You son of a You left the bodies and you only moved the headstones. You only moved the headstones. Lies. Lies. Yes, the skeletons in the pool are real because they were cheaper than buying props. 12. The animatronic spider in Arachnophobia, 1990. Jamie Hyneman is better known today as the grumpy, berated host of the Discovery Channel's popular TV show Mythbusters. But before that, one of his earliest special effects gigs was on the set of Arachnophobia, wielding magnets for many of the spider effects. In Popular Science magazine, he revealed that he also helped construct the giant animatronic queen spider used during the climactic battle sequences. In other words, you have this weirdo and his giant walrus mustache to thank for one of your biggest irrational fears. 11. Blair Witch Project, 1999. The Blair Witch Project captures a group of friends' descent into madness and panic as they become lost and tormented in the wilderness by a dark and unseen entity. It was a horror phenomenon that had everyone in the late 90s screaming, including its own cast. To give the film a more authentic and frightening feel, the crew went out of their way to torture the actors. The crew covered themselves in camouflage and hid from the cast during filming. The actors also slept in tents and were given less and less food each day to make them feel like they were really in a lost and dire situation. 10. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974. Tobe Hooper's reliance on suggestion over explicit gore in The Texas Chainsaw Massacre showcases the power of imagination in horror. First, the broom by the door changes position briefly during the scene after Sally returns to the service station for refuge from Leatherface. Second, after cutting his hand, the hitchhiker invites the other passengers to dinner with a cut to his hand that is completely uninjured. And third happened when Sally jumps out of the window for a second time. She is surrounded by glass shards. The glass shards vanish when the camera changes angles, never to be seen again. 9. Halloween, 1978. Even though Halloween is set in the fictional town of Haddonfield, Illinois, the iconic slasher flick was filmed in Los Angeles, California, mainly in West Hollywood and Pasadena. To create the illusion of autumn and sunny low, the filmmakers dusted each exterior scene with fake leaves, which then had to be painstakingly collected after each shot. Hawk-eye viewers might even spot palm trees in the background of several shots. 8. Paranormal Activity, 2009. Before the independent horror film, Paranormal Activity was released in theaters, Paramount, the studio that picked up the movie, tossed around the idea of remaking it with well-known stars, but it was the suggestion of Steven Spielberg that swayed them to keep it as is. The story goes that the famed director had screened a copy of the film one night, but was so terrified that he had to pause the movie and finish watching it during the day. He persuaded the studio to release the film as it was because the unknown actors added to the believability of the film. As it turns out, he was right. Paranormal Activity spawned 5 sequels, and it's now one of the highest-grossing horror franchises in history. 7. Psycho, 1960. The Schaller scene's brilliance lies in Hitchcock's meticulous planning. The use of 78 camera angles and 7 days of shooting showcased the director's commitment to creating a truly iconic moment in film history. Janet Leigh's character, Marion Crane, met her demise without an actual stabbing. The illusion was crafted through clever editing, strategically timed cuts, and the hauntingly effective music score. 6. Candyman, 1992. Candyman is a gothic supernatural horror film. Its titular character was an African American who was tortured by a mob, covered with honey, and stung to death by bees. According to the urban legend, if you speak his name 5 times in front of a mirror, his ghost will appear and murder you, sometimes using bees. We see this happen in the movie. Candyman has bees crawling on his face, in his ribs, and flying out his mouth. It's a freaky scene. But it becomes even freakier and more disgusting when you learn that these bees were real. That's right, over 200,000 honeybees were used throughout the film. Tony Todd, the actor who played Candyman, actually had these bees in his mouth and wore a protective mouthpiece to keep him safe from stings, although it didn't quite work. Todd received 23 bee stings during filming. Fortunately, he had negotiated a bonus of $1,000 for every sting he received. $23,000 to endure 23 bee stings. Worth it. Before going, subscribe our channel and watch our upcoming videos to make your Halloween scarier. 5. At Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. The main house used as Nancy's home in Nightmare on Elm Street is actually comprised of a few different locations. The exterior shots used a house located in West Hollywood, not far from the houses used in another horror classic, Halloween. The interior comprised of a few different locations, and some scenes were even shot on the very same soundstage used for the beloved TV series I Love Lucy. 4. Frankenstein, 1931. Boris Karloff's arduous makeup process for Frankenstein highlights the sacrifices actors make for their craft. The enduring image of the monster is a testament to the collaboration between Karloff and makeup artist Jack Pierce. The painstaking transformation process, though challenging for Karloff, resulted in a character that has become synonymous with classic horror, influencing depictions of Frankenstein's monster for generations. 3. Scream, 1996. The cast of the iconic 90s slasher almost looked a lot different. Originally, Drew Barrymore was offered the lead role of Sidney Prescott, but she turned it down in favor of taking the character who gets axed in the opening scene. Barrymore felt that audiences would be shocked by her character's early demise, and she was right. Other actresses that were then considered for the lead role were Molly Ringwald, Brittany Murphy, and Reese Witherspoon. Eventually, the role went to party of 5-star Neve Campbell, who has portrayed the character in all 4 Scream films. 2. Rosemary's Baby, 1968. Actor Robert Redford was originally pegged to play the role of Rosemary's husband, but due to scheduling conflicts, he was unable to commit. Jack Nicholson then screen tested for the role, but it eventually went to John Cassavetes. 1. The Exorcist, 1973. The spooky incidents during the production of The Exorcist added an extra layer of horror to the film. The set fire and subsequent preservation of the exorcism room fueled rumors of a possible curse. Reports of accidents and odd occurrences, including a lightning strike near the set and a series of injuries among the crew, contributed to the film's reputation as a cursed production. Which film is your favorite to watch and why? Let me share your thoughts in comment section. That's all about today's video for you. Enjoy Halloween and let me know which topic horror you want to watch more.